So we have confirmation now, in case it wasn't obvious. The British government know that Israel are breaking and violating international law, and they don't care. As a matter of fact, they're doing everything to keep it hush. And now there's a leaked recording. Just listen to them. Please just listen to them in their own words, okay?
So I want to be very clear. The idea that Lord Cameron is being pro-Arabist is the absolute birds. He is fighting very hard. So first of all, two-state solution does not help Hamas. No. That hurts Hamas in every single way. That helps, that destroys some of the narratives of the recent states. Two-state solution does not help them. Secondly, the Foreign Office has received official legal advice that Israel has broken international humanitarian law, but the government has not announced it. They have not said it. They haven't stopped arms exports. They've done a few very small sanctions on Israeli settlers, and everyone internationally has agreed that settlers are illegal, that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and the way in which they've continued the money that's been put in. The position that David has taken, which happens to be the same position as me, I still been very tough on him, is that Israel has an absolute right to self-defence. And I have sat in bunkers and worked with Israeli soldiers and been very proud to do so, and I would do it again tomorrow. But the right to self-defence...
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So she's proud of it. She would do it again tomorrow. Anyway, I'll let her continue.
Right to self-defence. And I have sat in bunkers and worked with Israeli soldiers and been very proud to do so, and I would do it again tomorrow. But the right to self-defence has a limit in law. It is not limitless. And unfortunately, some of the ways in which Israel is prosecuting this is making their long-term security less certain. It is making our long-term security less certain. I'm amazed that our national threat level has not gone up. And it breaks my heart because I know it could be done differently. So the problem is we need a long-term security for Israel. That does not happen without a Palestinian state, and that is how we ultimately undermine Hamas. You cannot, and I said...
Honestly, hold on, I'm going to have to stop her, right? Because she's correct. She's right here. She says, I'm amazed that our national threat level has not gone up. Yeah, me too. And that goes to show you that Hamas do not care about carrying out attacks against the UK. Hezbollah do not care about carrying attacks against the UK. But if you go to their land, if you go to Palestine, as the Israelis have done, and you try to steal their land, they will defend themselves. You want to talk about self-defense, right? They will defend themselves. Not in the way you mean it, not genocide, but actual self-defense. You know, you're not going to just steal people's countries and get away with it. She is correct, and she should be grateful, because somebody else, another country, would have attacked the UK for UK support of Israel. But Hamas are not interested in that. Hezbollah are not interested in that. The Israelis are the only ones out of these three groups. The Israelis are the only ones who have put bombs in London, who have attacked British citizens, murdered, assassinated British officials, British soldiers, British police. The only ones. Let's just be clear about that, okay?
Certain. It is making our long-term security less certain. I'm amazed that our national threat level has not gone up. And it breaks my heart because I know it could be done differently. So the problem is we need a long-term...
Oh, it breaks her heart. It breaks her heart, but she supports Israel, right? She supports Israel, but it breaks her heart. She really cares.
Security for Israel.
That's the only thing she cares about, long-term security for Israel. That's her only real concern. She doesn't care about, actually, I'm complicit in genocide. No. It's the Zionists. We have to give them long-term security. Bow down, everyone, before your Zionist masters. I mean, the groveling is really something else.
The problem is we need a long-term security for Israel. That does not happen without a Palestinian state, and that is how we ultimately undermine Hamas. You cannot, and I spent 2.5 years of my life fighting.
Oh yeah, she's fought ISIS. Yeah, it wasn't Iran and Syria and Russia and Hezbollah that killed and crushed ISIS. It was her. It was Alicia Keys. What a joke. No, but she's really funny. It's like the only reason she pretends to care about having a Palestinian state is to undermine Hamas. Well, look, Hamas exists because no one would abide by the Oslo Accords, and Hamas, I mean, looking at the Palestinian people, had to oblige them. What else could they do? You want to just leave Palestinians in this situation? No. 75 years is more than enough. I'm sorry. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous and so cynical. These people don't actually care about it. It's like, oh, well, today, you know, we'll support a Palestinian state because we don't like Hamas. And then in the future, or actually I'm saying in the future, but it really was like this in the past, where they wanted Hamas because Hamas would fracture the Palestinian political scene. And then that backfired on them because, yeah, it turns out that they're serious about it. I mean, these people are really, really just full of manipulation. They're full of cunning ideas and just thinking of how to get the next big paycheck. That's all it's about.
Security for Israel. That does not happen without a Palestinian state, and that is how we ultimately undermine Hamas. You cannot, and I spent 2.5 years of my life fighting ISIS, you cannot destroy an ideology, you cannot bomb it into obliteration. So we need that long-term solution.
Sorry, I'm not even going to get into this nonsense with, like, what is she comparing? ISIS is a Western creation. Don't come here, please. Stop. Let's stick to the main issue. This is the same. Keep in mind, this is the same person, Alicia Keys, who is grilling Cameron about a month and a half ago. It was in January, so about 2 months ago. I'll show you the clip. We covered this.
Philip, under international obligations, do occupying powers have an obligation to provide access to water, yes or no?
You asked me a technical legal question.
So Philip, I'm really, forgive me, you and I have played this dance enough times. We all know that under international law, there is an obligation for occupying powers to provide water.
You asked me a technical question about occupying powers and what their obligations are in international law. I imagine you're correct, Chair, but I'm also not a lie. I also just would point out,
Philip, just bear in mind, we've come to such a good place working with you because we have the confidence that you do know these details, and that's what your colleagues say. You know that
you understand it's the same song and dance, and then David Cameron says, yeah, I'm also not a lawyer, I don't have the paper in front of me. It's an act. It's an act, because when they're behind closed doors, this is the way they speak, right? This is the way they speak.
Right to self-defense has a limit in law. It is not limitless, and unfortunately, some of the...
It's about this, Israel's long-term security. That's what they care about. And you know what's funny is that there's a letter that the MPs in England signed, and it was a letter telling the government to stop selling weapons to the Israelis. Now, bear in mind, there are not a lot of... If you look at the total percentage, it doesn't compare a lot to what the Americans and Germans are giving the Israelis, but it's not about percentages here. The principle is wrong, and you know, even 1% is still too much. So the thing here is that you only have about 130 of them who signed it, and they sent this to Cameron, and this is very bizarre because for some reason no one told George Galloway about it, and they didn't get his signature, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I understood. And I find that scandalous. I mean, like, who are... Look, fine, the letter is a great idea, but you're 6 months too late. Actually, you're decades too late, to be frank. And on top of that, George Galloway's been doing this since before half of these people were even in Parliament. So, I mean, and he's way more anti-war and anti-Zionist than they are, and pro-Palestinian than they are. They you know, there's no comparison. How dare they leave him out of this letter? Who do these people think they are? I know why they did it. I know why they did it. Now, unless this really was in some, tiny off chance, an accident. I think the real reason is that they feel threatened by the Workers' Party actually winning the first candidate, and the leader, George Galloway, winning for the 7th time, in the 4th constituency, but for the first time as the Workers' Party of Britain being inaugurated into Parliament with George Galloway. It makes people in Labour feel uncomfortable because they know that with the Workers' Party, they're irrelevant. They only have Labour in the name. But, you know, the Workers' Party is actually about workers. They're actually anti-NATO. They're anti-Zionist. They care about British people. Labour Party are like the Tories. They work together. It's a one-party system like the Democrats and the Republicans. So when you have a third party, so to speak, it's not the only a third party, but just, you know, you have a third party, a new party entering the scene, and it's George Galloway. I think they felt threatened and they left him out on purpose, and that's scandalous. Truly scandalous. But the real scandal is Israel, without question. The real scandal is Israel. And, you know, this letter is what is it going to accomplish? There are way more efficient ways to accomplish things in British politics, and sending a letter to someone called David Cameron, who, you know, we know what he did as prime minister. We know who he is now. He's a criminal. He's a criminal. This is not how you go about it, and you don't leave George Galloway out by accident or on purpose. And the fact that this audio has just leaked is, I can tell you one thing. There are a lot of people in the establishment, in the media, and in politics who have similar recordings, probably worse ones than this, probably more revealing ones, that they could have leaked previously. But because the journalists in England have no interest in actually challenging government policy on Israel, because they themselves support Israel, we're never going to hear those recordings. We're never going to learn of these scandals. And so this is, you know, this is a fluke, in my opinion, this leaked recording. But without a shadow of a doubt, they can't come afterwards and say, well, we didn't know. No, you absolutely know. I mean, again, this is like trying to prove, trying to prove that 1 + 1 = 2. We know it equals 2, but they keep pretending it's 3. And they know since the beginning that Israel is wrong. They know this. Why do you think they have to try so hard to protect Israel? It's because they know Israel's wrong. But this really nails them. And they can never come afterwards and say, we didn't know. We had no idea. No, you know. All of you. All of you. And her interest, is just to protect the party, just to protect Israel. That's all she cares about. It's not about doing the right thing. No. She puts on an act during the grilling, during the questions, and then behind closed doors, this is how they behave.